What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. I'm your host, Matt, and this week we're going to be talking a little bit about musical song tropes, specifically the I want songs trope. There are a number of different tropes that you see in musicals that people identify. People who know a lot more than I do pay a lot more attention to the themes and what's going through and analyzing the kind of music theory as a whole and look for these recurring patterns and themes. So, like, there's the showstopper, there's the 11 o'clock number, which is basically like close to the finale, kind of a big realization. But the most common one that you see in musicals is the I want trope. So that's usually, it takes place early on in the story. It's setting up the main motivations of the protagonist, laying out kind of the foundations for the character development that they will experience throughout the rest of the musical. And I feel like this is typically the type of song in a musical that I gravitate towards. So we'll talk about some examples, some of my favorites from shows that I appreciate and listen to. And a lot of people, there's certain musicals that almost every song is some version of an I want song. Like Hamilton, for example, almost every single song in that play is a character talking about their motivations and what they're working towards, what they're striving towards. However, the traditional kind of definition of an I want song is that it takes place early on in the show, like typically within the first 15 minutes, and it's setting up that arc for the remainder of the show. Now, don't come at me if you're a big musical theory person. I'm sure there are parts that I will get wrong. You may not agree with everything I say, but this is just kind of from research and what I think looking at it, kind of the most common definition of it. So when I'm talking about I want songs, one of my personal favorites is going to be Out There from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Originally, the animated Disney movie turned into a full-blown musical. I don't think it ever made it to Broadway. If I remember correctly, it was only off-Broadway. But Out There is such a powerful song with your protagonist, Quasimodo, when he's just feeling like caged in, abused, kind of gaslit by Judge Frollo there, who's talking about how he has his best interests in heart and Quasimodo needs to stay inside because the world is wicked. And it's just Quasimodo singing about this longing that he has and wants to experience the world out there, and just seeing all these people take things for granted in their life and how he wishes he could experience that. So he's saying what he wants. He wants a normal life outside of the walls of Notre Dame, where he's caged in. I feel like it is such a powerful and emotional song. It's absolutely one of my favorites. And I think one of the reasons that I connect so heavily with I Want songs is part of why I connect with musicals as a whole. You see this longing of the character and you see them working towards some kind of resolution or growth. It's not always going to be a happy ending in musicals. In fact, I tend to gravitate towards a little more downer of musicals. Like The Last 5 Years is one of my favorites. It's not really, it doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles. And that's one because of the dueling kind of timelines. It's hard to identify one clear I want song from that, because everything's a little bit different and the motivations are clear. It's kind of like Hamilton, where there's a lot of different ones strewn in there. In my opinion, I struggle to identify a specific one, but I think also part of that is because I watch movies and listen to music and go to musicals and listen to musicals and soak that in. And I'm looking for something, I want to enjoy it. I'm looking for the good in it and what I can pick out and like about it. So it's very rare that I will leave completely disappointed in something, because I try to look out and pick out the good in things, what I can pull away from it. So I don't get too much deeper beyond the surface level with my analysis. I just want to feel something, some kind of emotion or connection to the character. And out there, I think just the longing that Quasimodo has is something that a lot of people can relate to, and the kind of view of the grass always being greener on the other side. Now, him, sheltered, wanting to just be part of society, isn't necessarily a specific thing that everyone can relate to, but having that view and building out this idyllic, like, picture of it in your head and wanting to achieve that and make it happen is and then ultimately kind of being disappointed in it is something that I feel like a lot of people can resonate, that it resonates with a lot of people. um, Another one, I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm recording on Sunday and it has been a whirlwind of a weekend. So apologies if I'm having just all sorts of random stream of consciousness on this week's pod. But another one of my favorites is Santa Fe from Newsies, specifically the Broadway version, Pro Shot with Jeremy Jordan. But that song with Jack Kelly, just longing for something else, just being alone, an orphan on the streets, and just longing for a place where he's not having to work for anyone else. Just, I it's beautiful, and Jeremy Jordan sings it beautifully. Christian Bale does a great job in the original movie too, but Jeremy Jordan, talked about on here, one of my favorite, I think one of the best who does it in musical theater world. But some other key ones that I really enjoy in specific musicals: One Song Glory from Rent, where you're setting up a kind of Rogers motivations that plays throughout the whole show. And then kind of the 11 o'clock number in that would be What You Own. So it's One Song Glory is setting up his motivations, what he's looking for, what he's trying to develop, and where he's trying to get. And What You Own is at the end of him kind of having some realizations about that and it reaching kind of the final tipping point within that show. Another like common one from the movie realm, which transfers into Broadway, is Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid, a very unique one because you have Ariel just longing to be part of the above world, feeling just so caged in, restricted from her father's, everything down in the sea, and just that sense of longing. The I want is really just the deep longing of the character. Something I think like Next to Normal is one of my favorite musicals of all time. It's another one that's kind of a downer. It's a very, very heavy musical. And I feel like a lot of times songs that are more like songs of mourning can also be versions of I Want songs, right? Because mourning is just longing for something that you've lost, longing for something that's no longer there. And so I Miss the Mountains is one that kind of jumps out to me from Next to Normal. Now, it's not early enough in the show that I think it's a true I Want song, if you're going through the letter of the law of the trope. But it's her talking about just missing how she used to be able to experience joy and life and enjoy what was. And she's just longing for that older version of herself and mourning the loss of that. And so I feel like every song throughout that show is so well crafted and tells such a clear story. And that's another one where, yeah, it doesn't fit the bells and whistles of the typical trope throughout it, but there's a lot of musicals that are just comprised of a bunch of different I Want songs. Next to Normal is another one that I think is like that. You get it from the different point of view of the different characters. You get Dan's kind of what he's working towards and what he wants. A little bit in I've Been, which is mourning as well. You get it from, I'm blanking on the daughter's name right now, so but you get it from the daughter's point of view, and a little bit in Superboy and the Invisible Girl, where she's just wanting to be noticed by her mom and just feeling invisible. You also get it in the very second song, Everything Else Goes Away. I'm blanking on what the actual name of that song is in the show. But you get it woven throughout there. Woven is correct, I believe, throughout that musical, that play. Another one on the stage version of Aladdin is Proud of Your Boy, where Aladdin's talking about his motivations of his parents that are lost to him and just how ultimately what he's working towards is he wants to be the person that his parents would have been proud of. Waving Through a Window from Dear Evan Hansen is another one. It doesn't kick off the movie version. I mean, it doesn't kick off the stage version. It kicks off the movie version of Evan just wanting to belong, kind of just feel normal, not have this anxiety and everything just crashing down around him and just feel this crushing weight of everything, feeling unloved, unwanted, just alone ultimately. And Waving Through a Window is another personal favorite of mine. Wicked, an example of it would be The Wizard and I. Elphaba singing what she's aspiring to, what she pictures would be the perfect ideal situation coming out of this journey in Oz, at Shiz University. In the Book of Mormon, another one of my favorite musicals, you've got You and Me, But Mostly Me, sung by Elder Price, about what he's wanting to accomplish in Uganda, their mission field, where they are going. Hamilton, the closest you have to a traditional one in there would probably be My Shot, where it's Hamilton talking about not throwing away his shot, and what he's working towards and what he wants to build this new nation with everyone. And that kind of goes throughout the musical as well. In The Heights, you have It Won't Be Long Now is a great one, when it is, I want to say Daniela, but I know that's not right. Why am I blanking on her name? See, this is where I just have hubris and think I know these musicals so well and I love them so much. I'm going to remember everything coming towards me, and I don't account for brain fog from allergies and busy weekend. But It Won't Be Long Now is just another beautiful one and beautiful example of it. There's quite a few really within In the Heights as well. And that's why when it comes down to I Want songs, I'm trying to stick to the traditional, how it's blocked out with the trope and early on in the show, the production. But one from Be More Chill would be More Than Survive, which is him just talking about his goal of wanting to fit in, not be so weird, talk to the girl that he wants, and just do a little more than just survive and get through the day. He wants to be successful. He wants to feel noticed. He wants to be able to have some sense of accomplishment, but he just wants to do more than just survive and get through. Jekyll and Hyde is a musical I've been very high on recently and really enjoyed. However, I gravitate more towards the complete works version, and that has more songs, and it's reworked and kind of condensed a little bit when it made the Broadway transition. And so in the complete works version, I'd say an example of an I Want song from there would probably be I Need to Know, which is Henry Jekyll talking about why he's doing his research and the purpose behind it, just kind of explaining that, setting it out from the very get-go of the play. That song is cut and replaced with the kind of the prologue and then facade in the Broadway version, which I don't feel like is quite as clear of an I Want song as I Need to Know from the complete works. So I kind of cut it out. But You Don't Know is another one from Next to Normal that I feel like kind of works towards a I Want song. It's Diana wanting Dan to understand everything that she's going through. So that's another big want from her. And then it transitions into I'm the One, where Dan wants Diana to see everything that he feels like he's doing for her and how he's helping her and how he's there for her and she's not alone. But I feel like tropes are they can be very important in musicals, and it gives the audience something to point to and cling to. But I feel like for me, you can take some of the enjoyment out of these things when you start overanalyzing it and digging too deep into it. I've heard some people talking or seen some posts on Reddit where they're like, I really enjoyed this show, until I started just seeing how it's just a copy of XYZ. I think an example of that is Epic the Musical. I started out kind of having seen some of the online discourse around it and then listened to it. And then on more listens, it really grew on me and I really appreciate what it does. And then you see people, they're like, I enjoyed it at first, but then I started listening to it and realized there's not a lot of depth to the song. They're just describing what's happening to them, which I disagree with in the case of Epic. I think there are very clear themes throughout it that do have some depth to it, that sometimes in the lyrics being a little bit more of a modern casual take on some of that dialogue, it's not pulling Homer's words directly into it, that can cause people to kind of discredit it a little bit more. Now, I'm making a bunch of assumptions. I hate when people make assumptions, but yeah, I'm doing it here too. But I feel like the I Want songs, like I said, I really gravitate towards because I like seeing that motivation of the person. I like seeing what they're working towards, kind of identifying where they're at and a perfect place. One that is a very clear I Want song, but doesn't take place early in the show, so it doesn't fit within the trope, would be Who I'd Be from Shrek, where I've talked about it at length on here. One of my favorite musical songs in general. I think is a beautiful song, and the motivations that Shrek is going through and just kind of the realization of what he dreams of being, who he feels like deep down he could be. He has that potential and that's what he wants to be, but just feel the limitations of being an ogre and what others expect out of him, and that he can never really achieve that ideal version of himself. I feel like that is very clearly like an I Want song talking about the motivations, but the trope is it has to take place early. And that's why I feel like sometimes if you get too strict with some of the tropes or you're looking for certain things, it can pull it away. So like another common trope is the ballad, which has kind of evolved over the years. It's started out like a ballad was just telling a story about someone. So like you could have like the Sweeney Todd, Attend the Tale of Sweeney Todd. I'm pretty sure that opening number is called The Ballad of Sweeney Todd. It is telling the story of Sweeney Todd. There's other ones that include ballad in the title but may not fit the traditional now. How we refer to ballads is usually slower songs that fit a certain tempo or a certain pace throughout it. So I don't know. Ballads are another one that I tend to gravitate towards. I'm all over the place with my musical taste and my music taste in general. Where depending on my mood, I will be in a very ballad heavy like vibe and just kind of that emotional just angst, or other times I want really like upbeat stuff. I do think that in musicals, I tend to gravitate towards the slower, not the big sweeping numbers as much. And musicals in general, not just the numbers. So like I said, the last 5 years, a very contained, smaller musical. And then Heathers is also like a little bit smaller, more contained. Like in that one, Freeze Your Brain is one of my favorite songs in there. This is a song that takes place just in a 7-Eleven getting some slushies. But I don't know. I thought I've been struggling with topics for the podcast, I think due to just kind of a crazy summer and last couple months. We'll see. I've got a few things that I'm trying to make work for next week's pod and October podcast. I'm hoping will kind of reignite some fire, because it's getting to where this for fun originally with Rayleigh as a way for us to kind of connect, but life is crazy for her. And so we kind of gotten away from what the podcast originally started as. And I'm getting to where I'm not enjoying it as much. It's not as fun. So we'll see how long we keep going. I'm hoping to kind of reignite some of that passion and do some more fun things in October to kind of reliven my enthusiasm for it, hopefully. Otherwise, 2025 might be the year the pod dies. So we'll see. I've always said, I think if you get to the point in anything in your life where it turns into something that you are just constantly anxious about or stressed about or dread doing, it seems like something you just need to check off the list instead of something that you enjoy doing and can find some joy in it, then that's when it's time to stop something. So we'll see. I don't want this to be something where I'm dragging it out and like I struggle thinking of topics for these sometimes unless it just comes to me. So hopefully you enjoyed some talk on I Want songs. If you have ideas, send them to me. I'm hoping to get some more guests on like this. The last lot of episodes of the podcast have been just me. Had some struggles hitting recording schedules with Brad due to his crazy life too. But hoping to get a few new guests on in October and kind of liven things up a bit. So let's see if there's any other thoughts I wanted to touch on before I went. One, I have an old man take, and that's that new songs these days are just too short. I feel like back in the day, you got a good 3.5 to 4 minute song. That was the average length. I feel like now we're getting closer to 2.5, 3 max, and can really suck. Like one of my songs of the summer was Pretty Face by Hoodie Allen. I used it on the TikTok and the promo video last week's pod episode. One of my favorites. It is far too short. It ends way too early. And so I'm just playing it more. And I think some of that is TikTok generation. You got shorter attention spans now. And then also artists, they also think about those things. I was talking to someone I used to work with who was in a band, and they were talking just about the importance of like when they were making songs, trying to make ones that would pop off on TikTok and things like that, just because that's where you get more views and how you can help build that audience. And so you look for those smaller sound bites and clips. And so songs themselves are getting shorter these days. And I feel like part of that kind of sucks because you have so many songs that end before they get done. To bring it kind of back to musicals, like Wait For It in Hamilton, it's perfect, but man, that's a song I want to go on so much longer because I love it so much. And Leslie Odom Jr. is so powerful in it. And Lynn's words are just amazing and beautiful. Leslie Odom Jr. back on Broadway currently as well. But I don't know. I feel that's my old man take for the week, that new songs are too short these days. But all right. So I was getting ready to do some editing, and I decided there were a few additional things I wanted to highlight and throw into this week's episode, bulk it up a little bit, because last night, the Emmys, Nate Bargatze hosted the Emmys. I have seen pretty negative reviews overall about the ultimate, like the format of the Emmys and the job Nate Bargatze did hosting. I did not watch. I will just straight up confess that. I saw and I agree. The take that I saw the most online, I like how I announced I agree before saying what the take was, is that putting the timer, the countdown on the people accepting the awards, and then just having bits and things with the host stretching it out, but then these people who are experiencing one of the greatest like accomplishments of their career in some instances being cut short with their thanks and gratitude and giving their heartfelt speeches. Kind of shitty, especially this year. They did the bit was there was like fundraising, like a donation countdown timer that when they hit their time, it started counting down money, and the longer they went, it was less money that got donated to, I believe, Boys and Girls Foundation. Now, I don't know how they actually did that in practice, but I get you're probably trying to be funny. I get that they have a time they need to work with, but let's leave less time to the host and the bits and more time to the people accepting the awards. Anyways, the reason I wanted to talk about it on here is because Kristen Milioti won an Emmy, the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Anthology Series or Movie for her role of Sophia Falcone in The Penguin, which I absolutely love. The Penguin. Colin Farrell was amazing in it as well. But Kristen Milioti, I felt like really played a kind of menacing villain and did such a good job in this role. I was first introduced to Kristen Milioti from How I Met Your Mother, as she plays, a spoiler alert for the show that's been over for almost 10 years, as she played the mother in the final season of that. And just completed a rewatch recently and really enjoyed her character and felt like we didn't get to see enough of her in it. Since then, I've seen her in a number of things. I saw her in The Penguin. I saw her in Palm Springs with Andy Samberg. I thought she was fantastic. I loved that movie. But Kristen Milioti actually got her start in the theater and is actually a Tony-nominated actress for her role in Once, which we haven't reviewed it on here, but an absolutely beautiful musical, Falling Slowly. I've talked about multiple times on here, as well as Say It To Me Now. Just fantastic songs from that musical, the movie, and then it was turned into a stage musical. And she played the girl in that and was nominated for a Tony for that role. And just, you can see some of her performances on YouTube, and she just has an absolutely beautiful voice and is fantastic. And I think that is a great role for her, just kind of seeing her personality in her other shows. And I feel like she would play that role really well. I haven't seen, there's not a pro shot of it or anything like that, so I haven't been able to see her full performance. But always love seeing people who started out on stage in theater just excel and get some awards and spotlight at the Emmys. And I feel like, especially for like a comic book adjacent TV show, which The Penguin's closer to like The Sopranos than it is the comic book superhero TV show is how it felt. It's more grounded mafia crime show. But just love seeing her get some shine and that award. Other shows that cleaned up, Severance cleaned up. The Studio was the biggest winner. Seth Rogen's Apple TV Plus series, which I still haven't watched, but I've heard great things about. So just shout out Kristen Milioti and all the winners at the Emmys last night. One more thing that is musical adjacent that I'll talk about on here is I've been playing a lot more VR lately. The main things I've been playing are Smash Drums, ton of fun. Beat Saber, always a classic. Fruit Ninja brings me back to the old days when I had my iPod Touch and I'd just be swiping back and forth on the screen. But my newest obsession is Maestro, where you conduct an orchestra, and so you are motioning and keeping time. It is a lot of fun and very addicting, and I'm really enjoying it. And it has like add-ons like Duel of the Fates from Star Wars, Bridge of Khazad-dûm from Lord of the Rings, Hedwig's theme from Harry Potter. Just a lot of really kind of nerdy or just these epic music scores. The Game of Thrones theme song is in there. So I've been having a lot of fun with that lately. We'll see if once I've played through everything a number of times, if it holds up. But I've been enjoying that a lot. It speaks to the music lover in me. That's what like Beat Saber I love, but I spend a stupid amount of money on the add-ons because I want to play to songs I love. So had to get like the Panic at the Disco pack, the Fall Out Boy pack, the rap and hip hop R&B pack to get some Eminem, some Kendrick, a lot of fun. But that's been like my workouts have been planking and VR. So that's why I look the way I do, because that's the extent of my workouts. But okay, that will do it for the additional added on segment. You may now continue with the regularly scheduled sign off. I think that'll do it for this week. I know we've done a lot of mini episodes back to back to back, but hopefully you're still enjoying it. As always, share, follow, subscribe, YouTube, podcast platforms, rate 5 stars, comment, all that fun stuff. Send in your ideas on Instagram if you're listening on audio platforms. With what I use to distribute the podcast, then you have the option to text us. Shoot us a text. Reach out. Love to have conversations with you guys. So thank you all for listening. giving your time to us. Love you all. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.